rough in this house, man.
Yeah. I'm sure.
It's rough in this house when those teams meet.
Oh, yeah. Are football Sundays like pretty? Like, are they like? Are you guys like a very competitive couple? Like, do you get like a little heated when the games are on?
Well, see, here's the thing. When you know jiu-jitsu and your wife doesn't know jiu-jitsu,
oh my gosh.
Sometimes you can get away with things because you just like dodge.
Right.
Like dodge. Like, have you ever seen a Team 4-Star? Like Dragon Ball Z? If you haven't, there's like this ongoing joke on an anime called Dragon Ball Z where the main character just doesn't fucking dodge. He just doesn't dodge. Like there's a death beam. It's literally called death beam coming at you, and all you hear is like dodge. Like that's exactly how it is in my house. It's like just dodge. It'll be all right.
All right. So he has dodged the intro long enough. We are back with another episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. I'm your host Jordan Freed.
I'm Reena Ezra.
And I'm Brendan O'Brien.
And we have a very special podcast today because it's almost a home and home. I've done his podcast in the past. And he is now here to tell us about his stand-up career and other things that he has going on in the works, perhaps his show itself. We have with us today Richard Aviles of the Rico podcast. Welcome.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an introduction for somebody like me. Like Jesus, now that people are gonna expect some greatness in here.
I mean, honestly, you started up like not even like the podcast, but like the video call very strong by singing "Staying Alive" before we even did introductions. So I feel like that literally
that's at the bar already.
Yes.
Yeah.
The old version. You better specify.
Yeah.
I was singing the old version, the Bee Gees version.
Wait, what's the new version?
The Drake version, bro.
Oh man,
Drake's got one called "Staying Alive."
Nah, I'm
tried it with DJ Khaled.
Yeah,
he's your boss.
Yeah,
another one.
Yeah,
I would love to be DJ Khaled's interpreter. I would charge just a copious amount of money to just say like a few words. Another one. Otro más. $100,000 done. Bro, I'm telling you, there's craziness, man. How y'all been doing?
Good.
We're good.
We are hanging out in Jersey right now. We understand that you're coming to us from Missouri right now?
Yeah, from Springfield, Missouri. Coming to you as live as soon as this episode releases.
So are you a lifelong Missourian or...
No, that's funny. I was born, raised, and educated in Puerto Rico.
Cool. And
actually, funny story, today's January 9, a day like today, 14 years ago, I left the island to join the Army.
Wow.
Yeah, we were just talking about that today.
What branch of the military did you join?
Unfortunately, the Army.
He's in Army.
Oh, yeah, Army.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Sessions with Mary Jane. That just went over my head.
Why unfortunately? Why unfortunately?
I think that the Marine Corps would have been a better fit for somebody with my personality type. Because I probably would have been humbled a little more. The Marines are crazy.
Yeah.
Like the Marines are crazy. They can drink like a fish and they can fight like they mean it. And they train a lot more than the Army too. I have a couple. I mean, obviously this varies from person to person. That's why in the Army, if you ever seen the Family Guy skit about the Army, it's like experiences may vary. You can talk to one veteran and maybe he's like, oh yeah, man, I got stationed in the Netherlands. And you're like, what? Like what in the Peter Pan fuck is that, you know? Yeah, I joined the Army as an MP straight out of San Juan a day like today.
Wow.
Yeah, never looked back.
Wow. So when did you come out of there? What year was that?
Out of Puerto Rico?
No, out of the Army.
I left the Army in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a little bit of reserves time, but that doesn't count. I don't count that personally. That was just
That's just seeing some friends at summer camp.
No, it's just like, you know, man. I'm under the opinion that you have to do things that coincide with each other, right? I'll explain. Like, if you're going to be in the military reserves, right? Normally, that means you have a federal job or a government job that understands your responsibilities with that situation. the same way that comedians, like if you're a comic, you should also do a podcast because that way you can network and you can connect things. And hey, if you're also a comedian, you got to learn about the business aspect of things, So there's like a lot of like moving parts and all that. And when you're a soldier, or a Marine or a sailor or an airman, there's a shitload of things that you have to learn, like a shitload. And yeah, it gets pretty heavy. Like it's a lot of learning all the time, a lot of training all the time in the military, like all the time. That was my experiences with it.
Yeah. How was that to adjust to a completely different lifestyle?
Man, it really wasn't hard to adjust because I've always worked. Like I've always just been a person that like just works. Like I don't mind working or reading or doing because like I've always been doing something, like ever since I was young. So like the only thing was like the cultural adjustment was like the hardest part. I would say that was honestly looking back on it, the cultural adjustment because I wasn't raised in the continental US. So there's a lot of differences like when they teach you things in Puerto Rico and versus how they teach it here. And I've also come to realize that not everybody can say, oh yeah, we used to cut class and go to the beach and just do a bonfire. Surfing.
No,
that's not a thing. That's the thing that
cannot say that.
That's the thing that when you say that to people go, fuck you. I hope you catch super AIDS and I hope your fucking whole family dies. Like literally I've had people, I'm like, how is this? So then what happened was I had a friend of mine, a jiu-jitsu buddy of mine named Andy Trudamella, who he brought me also back like some bottles of Don Q rum from Puerto Rico. And he went over to Puerto Rico and I helped him set it up. And then like all week, he like would text me or whatever. And when he got back, I said, yo, how many times did you watch TV? He goes, never. There was always so much to do. I go, yeah, welcome to me growing up. And he's like, oh shit, I get it now. Like I get why there's so many things that I miss. Like, dude, I saw Top Gun, like the first Top Gun, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it's not that it's not that it wasn't there because I also don't want to sound like Puerto Rican people are uncultured or whatever the fuck. It's just like, that wasn't something that I bothered with. I was a big nerd growing up too. Yeah. Like a huge anime nerd.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask what specifically you tapped into, but
so I started watching anime in '92 because it was a good way to like understand English because my first language was Spanish. So, and this is looking back, this is a horrible anime for a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old. I started out with Rurouni Kenshin, so Samurai X, and Saint Seiya were like the first ones that I started out with. And then I met Dragon Ball. I saw Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. But yeah, my first animes were pretty violent.
Yeah. Was anime part of the reason why you wanted to get into jujitsu in the first place?
No, actually, no. That's a really good question. No one's ever asked that. It's a funny story. I didn't know how to like fight. Like at all. And to this day, by the way, to clarify, I still fucking don't. I just fucking pretend like I do. But I was like really helpless and I had a situation where somebody like came at me and I didn't know like how to defend myself and like I panicked. And unfortunately, I'm the type of person that when something happens, like my brain just goes, okay, we need to fucking fix this because we can't let this happen again. So I met this guy named Joe Pellegrino in the Army when I got back from Iraq in 2009. And I was like, man, I need to like learn how to like fight. Like you learn some stuff in combat and stuff like that. But for me, it's better to train, right? It's just how I feel like it is. Like you should be able to train something that can emulate certain things and certain aspects of life and of realistic situations. So he's like, well, let's teach you this jujitsu thing. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went to like a couple things for like months because he's like, hey, like this is like a lifestyle. Like this is just once you start, like you shouldn't stop. So I was like, okay. And the first thing I learned was like called an arm drag to the back to a rear naked choke was like the first move I learned. It's called an arm drag to the back to a rear naked choke. And we were on patrol one night and we had a guy that crashed a car on base, and he was on PCP. We found that out later, by the way. We did not know that he was on PCP at the time. We just saw this man that was very erratic, and his eyes were very, very dilated, like very, very dilated. But, you never know. Maybe the person's tired, he's sleep deprived, and he just came back from the field. Like maybe he had an issue, like whatever. So we give him commands, he doesn't get down, and like we tase him, and the taser doesn't do anything.
Wow.
Like, the taser doesn't do anything. We spray him, and it doesn't do anything.
Oh my God.
So he literally like come out to reach, and he was like trying to like grab us and do this. And he came out to reach, and I arm dragged him, took his bag, and I choked him. And I put him out. And then we cuffed him, and he came to.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit, this jiu-jitsu shit really works.
That's why I learned jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so that was like one of the first times that jiu-jitsu like really like genuinely saved my life.
Yeah.
And that's actually a move to this day that I always show people. It's like an arm drag to the back to rear naked choke. It's like the first things that when people ask me like about jiu-jitsu is like, that's the thing. Cause it's, it's so practical, dude. It's so practical. It's helped me out in other situations too.
Yeah.
But, you learn to not fight the more, I think the more rank you get in jiu-jitsu, the more you know, like, nah, just don't fight.
I was about to
Just walk away.
ask. Yeah, are you more taught to walk away? Because
Yeah,
maybe
man,
once that
because
actually
like,
does
here's the
something
thing.
cool.
Like when you talk about a court of law, right? If you hurt someone, like a good defense attorney, what he's going to do is he's going to go, well, let's just pull his military records. Let's just pull this and how he's trained and this and that. But like what people don't understand is like if I feel like my life is in danger, the first thing I want to do is walk away. Like it's the first thing you should do. Just run. Just listen. Just walk away, dude. Because you never know if it's someone that's like, let's just sue him and like take him to the court, like, or they like, man, there's so many bad things that can come out of it,
I love
when
how
it changes.
Your first
The what?
reason. I know. I was just gonna say. I love how your first reason walk away because the U.S. legal system.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
Honestly, that does say a lot about our fabric of America.
Listen, dude, you're talking
The
to a
system.
brown man. How do you think I feel going to court, bro?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like I'm white enough that you hear me talking, and then you see my name, and you're like,
Yeah. My parents are immigrants. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like that's it happens. I have fun with it. But yeah, man, that was like one of the things that got me into jiu-jitsu. And has kept me in jiu-jitsu.
How was it growing up in Puerto Rico? How was it? What was the family dynamic? Are you have siblings?
My sibling is 10. I'm 10 years older than her, so we didn't really have much in common. But I love my sister. It's my sister. Family dynamic. My dad was a cop.
Okay.
And my mom worked at the courts.
Okay.
So,
context. Okay.
growing up parties, it was like, there was like a lot of like, up there people at the house. And, a lot of, we'd also do parties at my grandparents', which they had like a house near the beach. Like I say near the beach, but it's like right there. You can literally walk to the beach and whatnot and hang out. It was really cool. I was trying to learn as much English as I could, and then come to realize I could be an interpreter and whatnot. And then I got taught by a school teacher. And that's if it wasn't because of that, like we probably wouldn't be talking right now. Like I'd still be talking only Spanish.
Is their family still there? Or everybody's here in America.
Oh no, my whole family's over there on my mother's side, and on my father's side, there's like a couple people in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just me in Missouri, and my wife and my kid.
Yeah.
That's
So
about
what brought you to Missouri? Was it your wife? When did you meet her?
No, we met about 5-6 years ago. What brought me to Missouri was just I saw the potential for it to grow in all aspects while also maintaining a low cost of living and a pretty balanced life. Like if you're and I say this all the time, but I feel like it's starting to like, people are starting to realize it, is like, if you make like $20 an hour in Missouri, that goes in Springfield, Missouri, it goes pretty far. Like, it goes pretty far. You just have to live under your means. But, you know, rent here is like $500 to maybe $1,000 a month for like houses and stuff like that. And like, there's a couple apartments, but I always loved the people also, because everybody's real polite, man. Like everybody's so polite, dude. And everybody like helps each other. Like, you know, this town has its issues, but by God, dude, it's a fucking beautiful town, you know? Like the people here, and like, you know, like every town has its issues, but man, like it's real chill here, dude. It's real chill. It's real chill. Like,
what do people like to do fun out there?
I'm a homebody, man. I'm a homebody. I literally go to work, to spend time with my kid, to jujitsu, back home, spend time with my wife. If I have the time, if I make the time, we correct that. Hit up a mic, and then I'm back home. Like I don't really go out a lot. I'm always working or doing something. So I don't go out much, but I enjoy. Like I said, I'm a homebody, man. I like watching animes. I like reading manga. I like reading books. Right now, I'm reading like a Jordan Peterson book, The 12 Rules to Life, and then I have some sci-fi books on there, and then I got a couple manga that I got to catch up. And then I write a lot. You know, so I'll have like ideas for jokes and stuff, and I'm always writing. And then I always practice like my Spanish, like my interpreting skills, like every morning and stuff like that. But I'm not like, people think I'm like this party animal. Like the one thing I do like to do, most people don't know about this, I love karaoke.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, so we won't tell anyone, but what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, bro, anything Bad Bunny.
Nice.
You gotta.
I'm brown, bro. Come on now. That should have been a fucking, come on now, good sir.
Yeah.
Puerto Rican, you know,
Yeah.
and Bad Bunny. Like, yeah, man. Like, hell yeah, anything Bad Bunny. But it's been a while since I've gone karaoke. Normally we just sing in the house. It's been a while, man. People don't ask me out much. People don't even ask me to hang out much, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like, people always like, where you been? I was like, at home. Like, no one ever, like, I don't, and then people are like, what are you at? It's like, dude, I'm at home.
Or is
I'm
it
not
just
hiding.
the assumption when you have a family, when you're married and have a kid? I think people sometimes assume like, oh, he probably isn't available or he's busy.
Yeah, man. But here's the thing: my wife is really hot. My wife is like really, really hot. And I've never met somebody more amazing than my wife. And like, when your wife is also a gamer, she kind of likes anime. Like, you don't really need much else.
Yeah.
Like you have made it, like, you're 15, like, my 15-year-old self is like,
score.
Yeah.
Patting you on the back. Yeah.
Like, literally, that's like my 15-year-old self, bro. She's gonna listen to this and she's gonna be like, you motherfucker. No, but it's truthful, dude. Like, people ask me, how come you don't go out? Like, I used to play D&D and stuff like that, and I'm trying to host like a D&D night at my house, but you gotta watch out who you let in, you know?
Right.
And I still haven't fucking done it. Like, cause I love spending time with my wife, dude. Like, it's really, like, I don't really like even take like much interviews because I love hanging out with my wife. Like, I really do. And I have my kid all the time. So like, I really try to make it a point to like, that's my priority. Yeah. And then everything else is like second, you know?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, my wife's pretty dope, dude. Like,
all right. You can go. Bring her on.
Come on. Nah, see, and that's the thing. My wife's an introvert. Like if we go out, like, my wife is like, order me this. I'm like, like, really? Like, really? Like,
I'm also an introvert. I mean, a lot of performers I meet are introverts.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's definitely
I like
more
my privacy
common than people, think, for sure.
The problem is, like, I get like interpreters like that wanna talk and stuff like that. about like the stuff I've done and whatnot, and I have a really hard time saying no to them.
Mm.
So like that's the thing. I'm always like on the phone answering a question or something. And I got homies that are still in the military and stuff that they talk to me. So I'm always doing something. If not, I'm hanging out with my kid 90% of the time, man.
So what about comedy? Were you writing while you were in the Army? Were you,
No,
like,
man. Comedy it's been about
how did that
as of right.
go?
Yeah, so comedy for me, it's been about a month right now that I've been to a mic. December is a time that I really take off, and it's honestly probably been 2 months. I have to like force myself to take time off. So the holidays is a time that I normally like slow down, because the other time I'm just like putting out content or writing or like with the kiddo. So like, I wake up early, like really early to like do stuff. And then, yeah, man, like comedy happened by happenstance. It was one of those things that, someone had dared me to do, and I didn't get a laugh for 6 months. And let me tell you something, dude. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for over 9 years. If you told me that I would get choked once by everyone in training every time that I rolled, but I would never bomb again, I'd take that wish.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it sucks that the white belt tapped you. But when you bomb in front of 100 people, oh, God, it's so crushing. It's so crushing. But, you know, I'm pretty new to comedy, man.
What is your process? What is your process for that? You come off the stage.
Good question.
Let's say you just bombed.
I actually take what Roy Wood Jr. said, and I'm probably gonna like butcher it, but it was something along the lines of, I write things about how things make me feel and about like my own life. So when you sit down and you dissect like yourself, it's a really difficult thing to do. And anybody who's been to therapy, what a therapist knows that when you do cognitive or behavioral therapy, you have to look at yourself a lot. And I was like, oh, I'm okay with that. And I'm one of those people that for some reason people think that it's funny to give me shit. So like I just have one of those faces that people think it's funny to give me shit. And I'm really petty too. So you put those two together and you tell me what happens, right? But what were we talking about? I lost my train of thought there for a minute. I'm sorry.
To recoup.
So my process. So
bombing.
What I do normally is I'll like every morning. What I do is I'll tell you what I do every morning. This is easier. Every morning, what I do is I read the news. I read the news in English and Spanish, and then I try to read it in Portuguese, because it's a language I'm trying to pick up, but I haven't been as disciplined. Number one, what that does is I like knowing what's going around. You know, I just like knowing it, and I feel like it's a productive waste of my time. And then what I do is I'll grab an article that like catches my attention, and I'll try to write 10 jokes. And I've been doing this for a year, and I can get up to like 6 okay jokes. And then that's like practice. And then I have like things that I want to talk about that I want to say. And then I'll just do I do like a table is what I do, right? I'll put like, let's say I want to talk about child support, the Secret Service, you know? So then you'll start writing out things that come in your head about child support, and then you'll start writing things that come to your head about the Secret Service, and then you start crossing, and then what I do is I start crossing and I start writing. And then throughout the day, like if I get like a funny premise, right? Because a joke is a premise, a setup, and a punchline, right? So what I try to do is I try to keep it there, but then I try to keep a story incorporated to it. But the way that I have to keep the story is what I do is if you have to write everything down, I write everything down, and then I trim the fat, right? Meaning, is this necessary for the progression of the story, or can I put a joke here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I have a story that I always tell about my wife, actually. Like I love my wife a lot. But if I had to describe my wife, you'd probably be a little confused, because my wife is 6 feet tall. She loves Harry Potter, and she looks like a hot nurse that dresses out of Hot Topic and Spencer. And she supports me with all endeavors with her OnlyFans. Like normally that's where I get a laugh, right? So like you have to like set it up. I set it up probably. I'm sorry, now you have to, but I set it up in a way where it's like I'm trying to progress the story, and then I have a whole bit about my wife and whatnot. But that's pretty much how I do it, man. Like I talk about myself. I talk about growing up in Puerto Rico. You know, things that are very me. You know, and I'm sure that it's not anything new because when I write a joke personally, what I'm trying to do is like, okay, let's say that hypothetically speaking, you know, X event happened, right? Insert whatever event you want. Well, if we follow that event, what would happen if that event happened? Like, let's say that I threw someone from the second floor of a building with a helmet and duct tape to 2 mattresses. Well, if they survive, it would be really funny. And then number 2, I have to find in there a way to go, okay, well, how can I exaggerate this to make this funny? Or is the story funny in itself? And like, that's how I view things. Like, we have a lot of weird things that happen too when we do comedy. Like, we were at a Taco Bell one time and I told my co-host Eric, I go, hey man, do you have change? I don't want to use my card. I just need a drink. And he goes, yeah, and he hands me $100 bill. And I go, this motherfucker. So I give it to the girl, and the girl calls for a manager because she'd never seen a $100 bill. And she looks at the manager and goes, is this real? Just like that. And the manager goes, oh yeah, that looks real enough. She goes, Becky, that's why you're the manager.
Oh my God.
And I'm sitting there the whole time, like waiting for my order. And I'm like looking at Eric, and he's just trying not to laugh. He gives me my change back, which gave me the precise change. And I just look at Eric, and we took off. And like that night, I literally told that story on stage, and everybody just laughed because it's just like so like wild that it's like you've never seen 100. Like, bless your heart, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, things like that happen all the time. But you know, man, you got to prioritize. And when you have a family like I do, sometimes you got to prioritize, man, because money's gonna come and go, but your kids aren't gonna be little forever.
How did you come to the Rico podcast? Was that something that you chose to do because it does allow you to be close to your family still, or were you always kind of a radio guy?
So I did a comedy show with Kevin Farley.
Okay. You
know who Kevin Farley is? Chris Farley's brother.
Oh, yeah.
From SNL and that. Okay. And he turns out that he was a cigar guy. So I brought cigars, and like I have pictures of me smoking cigars with him and stuff, like just for me. And you know, you start smoking cigars with people, and cigars take you places.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to a cigar bar and you smoke a cigar, bro, people will start confessing crimes to you. You know? I just murdered him, you know, and I just fucking cut his head off. And it's like, all right, and dude, and there's a code in at least in our cigar shop. It's like, listen, what you hear say fucking stays here.
Yeah,
unless there's exigent circumstances, right? Like if someone says they want to harm themselves or they want to harm another person, then you know we talk them down, and then you know there's been times that we've had to call the cops because people have said that they want to harm themselves. You know, you got to take care of people in the community, man. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's. God, I started talking about cigars, and now you got me going about cigars, man.
Go off.
Yeah.
No, I love cigars. Listen, dude, I have a picture on my Facebook. It was like the first cigar I ever smoked, and it was me like after a mission, and all you see is like blackness in the back, and it's just me with a cigar, and I was like 20 or something like that, and like ever since then, I just love cigars. Like cigars will take you places. Yeah. Like they generally, like I tell this to all my comedian friends, like, bro, cigars, like you can go to a cigar bar and like talk to people, and you can run into a dude who is an electrician for the railroad, to a guy that's a multimillionaire from his business, to a politician that just wants to come hang out, to the governor that just sits down and you don't know that it's him. That may or may not have happened to somebody. So yeah, man, cigar shops are amazing, and cigars are a really good way to decompress. Also,
Yeah.
I understand there's some health concerns, but you do not inhale a cigar. If you inhale a cigar, you should be slapped.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is not culture. That is not the cigar culture. That is not the way to handle a cigar. If you do try a cigar, I highly suggest that you shouldn't. Even though I love them. It's not that because they're addicting. It's because it's one of those things, man, that once you realize, like, this is how I look at life, right? And maybe you guys will understand this, because you guys seem like very, very intelligent people. I look at things as, how can I turn down the volume in my life, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't send someone to war and do all these things and then do all these other things that I've done and then go back to society.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Yeah.
So, like, the way that I look at life is, what are things that I can do that help me manage how to turn down the volume, right? And that's how I look at it.
I feel like
That's why I love it.
Valuable thought for many people. In being in the era of overstimulation, either by tech or social media or politics or whatever it is, like, the lid is popped off. Like, people really do not know how to lower the volume. They don't know how to manage it. They don't know how, they go in a frenzy. But
yeah. And the thing is that people aren't really taught like things to do to take care of themselves.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
There's a lot of things that you can do, like, and I always tell people, like, you wake up really early. I'm like, well, I'm weird, so don't follow what I do, obviously, but, like, yeah, man, like, you should drink. Like, there's certain things that I do that, like, help me be able to do as much as I do. Like, I don't drink anything but, like, water and coffee, maybe some juice every now and then, but I like it fresh squeezed and stuff. Because in Puerto Rico, growing up in Puerto Rico, there's fruit everywhere, There's avocados everywhere. Like, if you go on my Facebook, I've posted a picture of a Puerto Rican avocado. Have you ever seen one?
No.
They're as big as my face. And that's pretty fucking huge. That's a pretty big fucking space. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah. So, like, I remember the first time I came to States, saw avocados. But there's certain things that you can do to, like, manage your stress. And I think that if you don't do those things daily, then you're not really taking care of all aspects of it. And, like, I'm the type of person too that, like, I lift or work out every day, but that's because I do it for mental health reasons.
Yeah.
Most people who lift are trying to do it because they have a lot of trauma.
Or it's their
I lift
outlet.
because
People do use the outlet for mental health reasons. Like, it's just habitual. It's like, what are the coping mechanisms or the techniques or habits that you need to adapt to get through the day?
Well, that's why I do jujitsu, because all jujitsu is, and this is, like, the dark part that I tell people when I talk about jujitsu, is, like, all jujitsu is simulating murder.
Jesus, that is a dark. Oh my god.
Really think about that for a minute, okay?
Ooh.
I'm choking you. Listen, I'm choking you and you tap and I let go. But if I keep squeezing and I don't let go, at that point it's a whole another situation, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people, like anybody who, like, or like Muay Thai, like, if you get hit, like, if you get hit by something that does Muay Thai in the stomach, you're not really gonna be able to breathe for a good minute, or, hey man, like, you're fucking with someone who knows judo and, like, they don't want to mess with you and you, like, start grabbing them and then they throw you and then next thing you know, you wake up and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck happened? And so, like, that's why I tell people, man, like, don't get in people's faces. And, like, man, the majority of people who get in your face like that, they're just upset at something that's going on. That's why, like, the number one thing I like to do is, like, when people get, like, hypey, I'm like, are you okay? Because it throws you the fuck off. Like, and then some people, some people it doesn't work. They get aggressive, but that's just because some people just don't really like. Here's a funny thought. I always love how we make fun of people talking about safe spaces, but there's people who fortify their homes so they can feel safe.
Yeah.
So to me, it's okay to have a place where you feel safe, right? And the thing is, some people take it out of hand or whatever, but like to me, you need to have what's called headquarters, right? Like when you go to war, you have a spot that's HQ. That's a place where you rest, that you sleep, that you check your troops, you regroup, and you go do things with your friends, right? For no reason whatsoever, too, because you've seen how Iraq went. But anyways, so you always have to have a spot that I feel like is headquarters. It's a spot where you recharge, where you're at peace, and your home should be that. That's why I used to make fun of people like who like decorated their house and stuff like that. And now we have a house, married, and I'm like, I'm gonna put a fucking Green Lantern battery on my entrance. And if anybody has a problem with that, in brightest days, in blackest nights, no evil.
Yeah. Well, on that note, having you on the podcast has definitely been a bright day. So thank you. Even though it's nighttime here and also nighttime there, presumably. So.
Man, the night is just starting. But no, to finish telling you the podcast, Kevin Farley gave me the idea. He goes, "You should have a podcast. Like, you're a pretty interesting dude." And he was so nice, and I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, let me think about it." And then my friend Eric Macker and I started doing it, and it started out with like just friends that we had. And then like one day we had a samurai historian that was on Netflix. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I wonder who else we can get. And then we had Tommy Chong.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder who the fuck else we can get. And we're having Gianni Russo, Mr. Gianni Russo from The Godfather pretty soon.
Cool.
And pretty soon trying to get Carl Gottlieb, the writer of Jaws.
Nice. Wow, great. That's
dude. Like, it's like at this point, it's kind of like, who can we get that we really want? Like, we're trying to get the Navy SEAL that shot Bin Laden.
Wow. Damn.
Wow.
You know why?
All right. Well, we're also waiting. We have some comedy shows coming up on January 20th.
That's right. We got duly noted, the musical improv troupe. That's right. We'll be back at the Westchester Collaborative Theater, a place that we have frequented frequently with Blind Tiger Improv, who will also be doing musical improv. So that's at 8:00 p.m. in Austining, New York. We also got over in Bucks County, we got an improv show coming up as well, don't we, Jordan?
Yes, at Witherspoon Boxing and Fitness, the Gloves Out comedy show with Zoe Dixon, Gary Sharp Jr., and Eric Todd, also Lana Epstein, and Tan Huang.
That's
so
the 21st?
That is the 21st of January, so
at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Make it out there. It's gonna be a good time at both of those shows. Damn, if you're in Westchester and Pennsylvania, two separate options.
Yo, the Hump Tour starting. Get on that Hump Tour. Let's go. Also, if you enjoy hearing voices, specifically this month, Reena Ezra's voice, we have an audiobook podcast made up of original short fiction works written by up-and-coming writers. And this week, it's a piece actually I wrote. It's called Liberty's a Man's Game, and Reena is the one who read it and does a great job. And great British accent. Long Tail Short Tales is the name of it. Thank you, Reena. LNHstudios.com. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was the funniest time for you to get cut off by ours.
We were wondering if you saw the time and did that on purpose.
No, I wasn't paying attention at the time.
You want to know about the guy who shot Bin Laden?
Yeah. I was having a good.
What do you know about the guy who shot Bin Laden?
So continue.
You guys want to record it or
we are?
Good?
Oh yeah.
We're recording on another.
Recording in progress.
We have audio, but we'll do the backup.
So we've been trying to get the guy who shot Bin Laden, and I messaged him, and one of the things that I wanted to ask him, because this is like a serious question, like it's a really heavy thing, like that dude will forever have a bounty on his head, One of the questions I've always wondered myself, being a guy who deployed and in a combat theater of operations and did some stuff, and I was always wondering, like, if it was, I always wanted to ask him, like, listen, like, after you pass check, right? Confirm Geronimo, meaning confirm the target's down. You send confirmation. Because you have to send confirmation. That way, they have a way to trace it with biometrics and stuff. And they were like, be advised, it's Geronimo, whatever. Like, yeah, you got Bin Laden, whatever code they used. And it was real somber. You remove the kids out of the equation, right? Because you got to remove the kids out. Who was the first one to teabag him? Who was the first to, like, just look amongst each other and just dip your balls, dip your balls in Bin Laden's forehead for freedom. For freedom. Just for freedom.
You're
And
not gonna actually
I sent him that message, and my wife goes, "You did not fucking send that message."
I had the same reaction as your wife. I have the same response. I'm like, you did not know my wife.
That's because that's what they call FTV for the boys. That's a question for the boys.
Oh my god.
Because every dude is gonna be like, you know what? If I was the guy who shot Bin Laden, and I've played a lot of Call of Duty,
Yeah.
He responded?
Right there on Bin Laden. I mean, it's obviously violating Geneva, and we should not do that. I am not saying that we should do that. I am just saying, in a joke form, that it would be funny.
Yes, this is comedy to clear the air.
Comedy.
Everybody's listening.
We are in no way trying to violate Geneva Conventions or ROE's rules of engagement. But if I was the guy that shot Bin Laden, and I was with the homies, look around, be like, for America, and just like play America, fuck, and then just bag them, like just things that happen into my crazy mind that I think about sometimes. But that is a legitimate question. I'd like to ask him on the air.
But thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And if you want the answer, you have to go listen to Rico's
future
podcast.
Listen to his podcast.
Yeah. It's not the first time that we've asked somebody something off the wall. We had a person that had sex with Freddie Mercury.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Like a confirmed story. Didn't get AIDS. And my first question to this person was, how big was Freddie Mercury's cock? I think that is a reasonable question.
Oh,
like,
I was
you
waiting
got the
for the answer.
He did answer. He said it was a little bit bigger than the Yeti mic.
There you go.
But apparently he was like the
these
sweetest,
stories.
nicest person, like nicest human being ever. Like literally, like the person was. It's wild, dude. The thing that you get people telling you, like when you start talking to them, and especially when you treat them nicely. Like
yeah.
I always try to treat every guest with as much respect as I can, because I don't know where they're at and I want them to have a good time. And I also, man, I don't want them to like feel like, there's a fine line when you're interviewing somebody on a podcast between making it look like an interrogation or an interview.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a fine line, and you gotta like be careful, because some people sometimes they feel like it's an interrogation because they're used to like how the press is, and I'm like, I'm just chill, man. Yeah. Like, I might ask you some questions that you might not want to talk about. We can move on. This shit don't bother me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm there to have a good time. That's why I tell FYOB. No, bring BYOB. Bring your own buds. Or bring your own buddies. Like, that's literally the motto of the show, man. Just hang out with the friends. Because at the end of the day, dude, like, as you get older, I have a lot of friends who are older. Like, even my wife is 5 years older than me. Right? So, like, all my friends are, like, 10 plus years older than me. My co-host is 17 years older than me. And he's, like, one of my best friends. And you start to realize as you get older that friends are really, like, the only thing you're going to have, man. Because your family's going to die eventually. So you got to make some good, solid friends, dude. And like that's one thing I firmly believe in, is if you have a good circle of friends. Like Joey Diaz said it best. I don't know if you know who Joey Diaz is, the comedian.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's from Jersey. Obviously, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We know our
I actually posted a picture of me with two of my friends who are like, those are my ride or die homies. Those are the guys that if I want to take over a country, I call. And I posted it with the clip of Joey Diaz saying that it's a joke that Joey Diaz has, that he goes, we're confused as Americans. You think you need all these motherfuckers. He's like, you give me 2 or 3 bad motherfuckers and you're done. And Joey Diaz commented on it. and I almost had an aneurysm because I fucking love Joey Diaz. Like, I love not him as a person because obviously I don't know him, but I love what he puts out and like things that he does. So it was really cool, man. Like you gotta have friends, dude. Like you really do, man. You really do because, dude, as you get older, man, like life is not the same if you don't have friends.
Sure. I mean, it's not a quantity game, it's a quality game. I definitely think people, I mean, like being done with school for a while now, but like I have one super close, I mean, I have a twin, so it's different. I'm super close with her, thankfully. But I have
a twin?
Yeah. So that is my other time. That is like grew up, did everything together.
Bro, what is that like? Is that like having like a second rare Pokemon next to you, or like how does that feel?
Well, like I don't know life any different, so I can't tell you and explain that I'm like, oh,
she's like, it's normal.
You've never not been a twin.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't compare. It is normal for me. I mean, it's amazing. So every twin, right? I know twins and triplets who do not get along. They're not close. They don't like each other.
How?
They're not
That's
friends.
like hating yourself, isn't it?
People do it all the time, though, I hear.
Listen, bro, I went to war for $50,000 for 15 months. I definitely fucking hate myself. Like, listen, like,
now we all know
Now we all know.
Sober Richard does not make good choices. Clearly. Clearly.
Yeah. It's just having a super close friend. I mean, just somebody that you really do bond with. That you can, we can, I mean, it's not actual telepathy, but we do feel like we can read each other's minds. You were just super close. We went to a twin festival. We did the whole like weird twin thing, just to try it out for a year.
All right, then.
One summer we just did it, but my point was, yes, we have like a friend we have is like one friend throughout middle school, high school, one friend, and I met other friends in my adult life, and I do have like a great group and everything. But to me, doing our podcast, I was just gonna agree with you. Over time, it is just like the most fascinating thing is hearing people's like their stories. Everyone comes from a different walk of life, and I have the people I'm like binded with, and it's just like, yes, this person is like top quality, like I can say or do anything with, like amazing, very fortunate to be in that place.
What she's saying, guys, is that she doesn't love you guys.
Well, no.
They're like, oh shit.
They know. I mean, you guys are like what, and then just the top three, like. Please.
Top of the charts.
Please, we were like so like.
No, that's good,
gosh.
man.
But like people that deal with like the best parts of you and the ugliest parts of you, and they know like your like difficulties, whatever it is, but they don't like walk away. But it is like everybody has just a very unique story. It is wonderful that somebody like you has a podcast because I don't want to listen to another, wealthy, privileged white person who hasn't like a different, I mean, sure, they have a podcast. That's like good for them. Nothing against them, but I am like from like everybody has a different culture and background, but I want to hear something different. I want to hear someone just chose something different in life, or like their life is simple. They like the mundane, whatever it is, like they think differently. What is that? What is that like? I mean, that's like we make movies and TV shows off of stories, off of people's like everyone is a storyteller. So it's just like, yeah, you actually lived this real life. So, what is it? And
that's why I like to test my friends too. Like if you're my real friend, I definitely Pooh Bear in my house around you. Nice. You guys know what Pooh Bearing is?
No. Is it poop related?
She knows.
You know?
She's like, I know what it is.
I don't know if it's what I'm thinking of.
It's when you walk around with just a hoodie. It's when you walk around with just a hoodie. # Pooh Bear.
Oh, yes, I heard that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was like, is it really what I'm thinking of?
No, that's actually an ongoing joke on my podcast. Like, if you listen to any episode, you'll randomly hear, you fucking Pooh Bear, shut up, you have no room to talk. And it pisses me off because the story, here's the story. Me and Eric McElroy were doing comedy shows all over the Midwest. Like every now and then we'd go and do like 2-3 shows, and we would get hotels. And like one time, Eric almost walked in And Eric was in the military. He's in the Navy. So definitely he's seen man-ass, right? He's seen brown, hairy man-ass also. So like, and one day he just walked in. I was putting on pants. And I go, hey, what's up? He goes, oh, God, it's a horrible Winnie the Pooh. What is it? It was like, you motherfucker. So that night, he goes on stage and he goes, I found out where the line is that you realize if you're friends with someone or if you just fucking hate them. And that line is when you open the door and they're Pooh Bearing it. And no one laughs. And he goes, does anyone know what Pooh Bearing is? He's like, no. It's like Pooh Bearing it is when you pretend that and you dress up like Winnie the Pooh, wearing just a hoodie. And the whole room just fucking started dying. So yeah, that's what I call Pooh Bearing it. That's why everybody, I say, that's how I test my friends. You have to see me Pooh Bearing it. Right. That way you know. That way you know how flat my ass is.
Yes.
Telling you, man. Telling you. Trust me. I got another 40 pounds to go, y'all. So it'll happen. It'll happen, man. It'll come to be, you know.
On the Pooh Bear note.
Yeah.
You are not ending like that.
No. We will end on Pooh Bear.
We could. I mean, we're on Zoom right now. We could be doing it right now, and you'd have no idea.
We're all Pooh Bears from the top up.
Oh God!
Now visualize that.
That would be the most awkward podcast ever.
Welcome to the Pooh Bear podcast.
Hey, up here, look up here.
Oh God!
Yeah,
bro, I've had people think that about me, and I'm like, nah, man, like I got pants, like it's cold.
Yeah,
cold.
imagine we're about to sign off, and he stands up. And,
He always.
You just been Louis C.K. No, Louis C.K. No, I wasn't Louis C.K. I can't remember who it was.
Really, he was such a nice guy. And then
you think you know
my
Winnie
God,
the
what
Pooh?
is that?
you think you know a man.
It looks like an angry and sad elephant at the same time.
Oh God, don't give us
It's a podcast. You gotta get the visuals out there somehow.
I gotta write that one down. That's good.
Yeah.
That's true. All they have is the audio. We have to help them.
Yeah.
Visualize it.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast. We loved having you. Thank you for all your stories and your jokes and all of your Pooh Bear wisdom. Do you have anything that you want to plug or any like handle, social media?
Yeah, where people can find you.
Yeah, shout them out.
Yeah, man. No, the Pooh.
At Pooh
I'm
Bear.
sorry, I can't stop thinking about just me sitting there like with like a little red thing just hanging from up here, just giving wisdom, bro. Pooh Bear wisdom right there, dude.
Where'd that honey
If I make that a thing, I'm shouting you out.
There's honey on his leg.
Why is there honey on his leg? He's so wise, though. Pooh Bear Aviles, what should I do about my boyfriend? Your boyfriend does not love you. He's cheating on your sister.
Put on a hoodie.
I'm telling you, dude.
That's like a version of
you.
Delilah. What is the radio? Not Delilah. The thing where they call in and ask for
Oh, yeah,
advice.
Delilah. Yeah,
that is Delilah, yeah.
So we'll make it quick. You can find us anywhere, man, on Rico Podcast. All the socials on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, all those. And on YouTube, just Rico Podcast. Give us a like, man. Give us a like, give us a follow, and I like connecting with people. Yeah. I love sharing people's stories, man. So yeah, I appreciate y'all having me.
Well,
Thanks for
thank
coming
you.
on.
Yeah, we
Appreciate
appreciate you sharing your story. And have a great rest of your life.